we're back. You know what be throw this our commercial be throwing me off a little bit because I feel like it goes fast and it goes slow, and then I feel like nobody, like when we get on, we going fast and we going slow too. But I have to go back and look at the tape. I will look at the tape. So we're back next. We're back again. We said that we were coming with candidates. We have two more. We have two candidates that we talked about. One is here today. We have one tomorrow at 4:30. But I am not going to attempt to pronounce her name because I do not like to butcher people's name because I know how that feels because they butcher my first name all the time. Sandra No. I mean, her last name is kind of good to spell because it's French, but still, So we have candidate for district
all the time too. It gets messed up too,
right? names. So we have, first of all, like, share, and subscribe our page if you're on our page. We are the ladies who come on here and try to bring politics to our people to the best way we know how. And we do this so we want you all to participate in the political process because as you have seen in past elections, your vote really, really matters. There's candidates winning by 5 votes. There's candidates winning by 10,000 votes. But nonetheless, every vote matters and every vote counts. So we're always here to bring out the information and then also talk about, current events and stuff like that. So we do have a candidate here today. First of all, my name is Narnique Grant. Don't butcher it. If you can't say my name correctly, there's a middle name in the middle. It's like a pet name. It's Nikki. So you can call me that. And I am one of the half co-hosts of Race and the Racist. And then I'm gonna let Sandra introduce herself, and then we'll allow our guest to speak and introduce herself because I don't want to butcher her name. As soon as you say it, I'm gonna make sure I remember how to say your name. Go ahead, Sandra.
Yeah, so I keep muting myself because I was listening to something before we started. So I'm Sandra Sheffer, one of the other co-hosts of Race and Races. So this is what I got to tell you. Early voting starts in Broward County on August the 13th until August 21st. Vote by mail ballots were already sent out to you. They should be in your mailbox. If you didn't get one, you can request one up until the 13th. And I don't know if you can request it up until the 13th, but I know if you have one, you can mail it in by the 13th, and after that, you have to put it in a drop box. So there's something with the vote by mail ballot. You have to put it in a drop box after the 13th. Okay, so early voting starts August 13th until August the 21st. The last day you can vote for any of the candidates is August 23rd. You see that date all over the place, like that's election day, but that's your last opportunity to vote for these candidates in the primary. So think about it as your last opportunity, but we want you to use the vote by mail ballot, or we want you to early vote between August 13th to August 21st in Broward County. So Dade County started voting on Monday, August 8th, and so has Palm Beach County. I don't know if part of your district is it in Palm Beach County, Ms. Holzhauer?
Yes, and you said it right.
So hers is in Palm Beach. They started voting on Monday. So Palm Beach County started early voting August the 8th, and they actually run through the 21st too.
Yes,
my understanding. They run all the way until the 21st. So the 23rd of August, the day y'all keep hearing, that's your last opportunity to vote. Okay, so that's what I gotta say. All right, Hava. I think I said Holzhauer, but I might have got it wrong. Let her correct us.
You got both names right.
Yay!
Yes. So no, thank you. It's really terrific to be here, and I liked your music on your commercial coming in. It made me dance a little bit. It gave me some joy today. So thank you. I'm Hava Holzhauer, and yeah, I know that last name is a bear. And no, I really appreciate you having me here. I'm running for US 23. I'm the only woman in a 6-way race to replace retiring Congressman Ted Deutsch. So there are options. This is an open seat. There is no endorsement by the former candidate. And to me, it's just an incredibly important time to get involved and to step up and to serve in this capacity to protect and serve in our community.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. So I'm in your district. Yeah. So I'm in your district, and I want to hear as much as I can about you. And so we'll let you start by talking about maybe your top 3 things you would like to see in your district that either is implemented and you want to enhance it or make it better, or not make it better, or find a way to get rid of it, or or anything else. Your top 3. Top 3. Just give us your top 3, and then we can ask questions from there.
Fantastic. So I'm going to put it at the 30,000 foot view first, because that is sort of the overlay to everything that I want to do. But what I want to do and what I am in this race is I'm the justice candidate. And what I mean by that is that I want to put justice back into the center of governing. It has been at the fringes in Florida. It's certainly at the fringes. Communities are constantly being marginalized. Somebody else is picked every week to be picked on. We are regressing in so many ways, with women, with the LGBT community, with the Black community, with voting rights, the gun epidemic, so on and so forth. So, for me in this race, we all come as candidates and as politicians with different lenses that we look through and different things that we think about when we make decisions. For me, every decision that I'm going to make, every box I'm going to check is going to be made through the lens of justice. So what I mean by that is, in addition to, building a fence around our freedoms and our rights that are, not secure, it means also decisions about climate, decisions about housing, decisions about, prescription drug prices, everything to be made through the lens of justice. So, that's sort of the big 30,000 foot view. More specifically, women's rights and equality. Like, it is unbelievable to me that we are where we are today. I was born in January of 1973. It's the same year that Roe became the law of the land. And so here I am, on the cusp of, that big half century number, almost there. And this is the reality. And suddenly I'm looking at, to me, what looks like, I'm a workers' rights and civil rights attorney for much of my career. And we in this country, as women, we have a terrible history of being the property of men. We were the property of our fathers, then we were the property of our husbands. And to me, forced pregnancy is another way that women are being, treated as property and not having the humanity and the autonomy over our own destiny and our own future. So women's rights, and then of course, the privacy rights are central to Roe and abortion rights and women's health care, but they are also central to marriage equality. They are also central to contraception. They are also central to, even interracial marriage. So there are so many rights and freedoms in this country that are related to the privacy rights and this overturning of Roe. And we need people who have the skills and the strength and who will lead on these issues when they get to Congress. Not having ever been in office, it's been fascinating to experience this process of running and to see the other candidates and see the interplay in the community and in the party. And, it's just not true if somebody tells you that they are going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they're going to lead on it. I think what is true is that many Democrats will check the same boxes when it comes down to a vote, right? But when they get in that position, they're going to choose issues that they lead on. And some of that is going to be, it's going to be what their constituents want, we hope. Often it's not. But it's also going to be what they're good at and what they know. And this is what I know. This is what I've been doing for 25 years. And this is how I'm going to lead when I get there. So the justice issues, women's rights, equality, that's a long way to tell you number one. Another incredibly important thing is, economic equity, but also, being able to sort of rebuild a version of the American dream that applies for a lot of people. This is a country of abundance. This is a country of great, financial reserves, great human capital. We have a ton of, smart, amazing people. Politicians get in their own ways and they hurt the community by not moving the needle on issues that have been issues over and over and over again for decades. I am exhausted by the same talking points. I couldn't believe, on the climate issue, for example, that it was like the year I was graduating from high school that Al Gore's book came out and his movie came out. And he was just on TV the other day, talking about how everything he predicted came true because we didn't do enough. We hardly did between then and now. And you know, it's time for progress, and it's time for a profound change. So, you know, for me to address issues of economics that have been on the table forever, like the minimum wage or a livable wage, or, you know, more opportunity for persons of color, marginalized communities, women to own businesses, to become those CEOs, to, you know, be in the boardroom and to be at the head of companies. These are things that have been issues for a very long time, but people haven't been able to move the needle. And then you know, the gun epidemic is extremely important to our community and to our country. I have 4 children between the ages of 17 and 23. And that age range now in this country, the #1 reason that they die is by bullet. It's not by an automobile accident. It's not by a healthcare issue. It's by a gun. You know, and with freedoms and rights come responsibilities and obligations. And for some reason, when it comes to guns in this country, there's no obligations and there's no duties, and that has to change. So, you know, these are 3 of the very important reasons I'm getting into this race. You know, I didn't mention in the middle one on economics that another one of those areas, Social Security, Medicare, same thing, talking points over and over that our people running for office, they always say, I'm going to, you know, secure Social Security, and they haven't done it yet. So I'm excited to get into the weeds and sort of use my kind of the way that I work, which is, you know, I'm a bit of a disruptor. You know, when someone tells me it can't be done because it hasn't been done, you know, to me, that's just a starting point. It's a jumping off point. And it means it's time to reevaluate, or someone hasn't looked at it, you know, in a long time. So, you know, I am looking forward to moving the needle, because this mess, it's not to be left like for my kids or for our kids or for our, you know, grandkids. It is our responsibility to work on it and make some progress. Was that a really long answer to your question?
But it was an answer, and we were taking notes.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask, so I know you got into like what your 3 things, but I always like to find out, like, what are the skill sets that you have that make you believe that you are the best candidate for this position, right? And sometimes it's hard. It seems weird to ask women that question, because it seems like women always have to explain why is it that they think they're qualified, where men just get to run and they don't got to explain anything to anyone. But I just want to know, like, what are your skill set? You know, what part of like your professional life, personal life, you know, managing a home or whatever, that makes you believe that you have the skill sets that are necessary for you to be the that makes you the best candidate, and you'll be the person that District 23 should send to Washington, D.C.?
Fantastic question that I am excited to answer. And I'm going to kind of start in reverse order and just say, I think we have enough people who have been in politics that have the politics of politics experience going into office. If we keep electing the same kind of people with the same resumes, we're going to get the exact same result. So, you know, we talk about how we want change. We want profound change. We want things to be different. We want to finally move the needle on some of these issues that have been stagnant or almost stagnant for decades, and we keep electing the same people. So my background, I haven't been in elected office unless you count high school. I was treasurer in my senior year, and I was president in 8th grade. I actually sang my speech in 8th grade, but I haven't been, you know, professionally in elected office. And what I have been is I'm an attorney, and I started off doing civil litigation as a workers' rights and civil rights attorney. Some of the highlights were discrimination cases, age, race, pregnancy discrimination. Some of the most interesting ones that I remember. And it was also the rollout of the Family Medical Leave Act, which was, to me, very important, because I was 5 months pregnant when I graduated from law school. And then I had all those babies. I was on a dialing for dollars call as a tangent, but in some man that I was speaking to on the phone, he said, so what, were you like proverbially pregnant or persistently pregnant or something like that? And I'm like, that's quite a question. You know, I have like a quote board with a whole bunch of really interesting things that have been said throughout this process. But anyway, that was a really important aspect.
Because when you give the ages, I think you had your 4 kids in like 6 years or something like that. Is that why he asked you that?
You got the name right and you got the math right. That is exactly what it was. It was like boom, 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 and
Get out the way. Why, you know?
Exactly, exactly. So that act was extremely important, right? Because it was the first time like women could be home with a newborn and not risk losing their jobs. Of course, there's caveats. It had to be a company of a certain size, certain number of employees, and it's expanded. And now fathers get to stay home, and it should be expanded more. And we still have major issues like no childcare visa, by the way. Like we can bring people in from other countries for all kinds of jobs. The last time that a child care visa was taken up was in also 1973, the year that I was born, and it was Nixon. And he decided that it would upset the traditional family and the role of the woman at home if we allowed for that visa category. And so we don't have it, and we still don't have it. So, I'm very
au pairs. You can't get an au pair.
You can get an au pair, but have you ever looked into the details of the limit
I have.
an au pair can do for you?
Yeah, I have. Okay. I tried that. I was like, this ain't gonna work.
Yes, to me, it's like having a glorified babysitter.
Pretty much,
right? So anyway, it's that was just you asked about my background and what I bring to the table, and so this kind of work, it's very specific to standing up for people, fighting the good fight, trying to make things more just, to digging into the weeds on and not letting the big guy take over the little guy or control the person who has less power. So I was also an assistant state attorney in the 15th Judicial Circuit, and I did that a little bit backwards. A lot of people start off in their careers like in the state attorney's office or the public defender's office. And for me, it was a very interesting place to be. First of all, a lot of Republicans work in the state attorney's office. And so a lot of my colleagues were. And, another way that I did it differently when I was there is that it's very hierarchical, and it's considered like most prestigious if you work with the more serious felonies. But to me, it was in juvenile where there was the most room to actually make a difference in the community and to be collaborative. So, navigating and helping people navigate a really, at times, unfair system and understanding it and seeing it up close is something I never would have known it the way that I know it if I hadn't been in that job for the few years that I was in it. So, looking at alternatives to delinquency, our state at the time that I was there was like canceling programs that would send kids, to alternatives to going to jail. Another thing that I saw while I was there that just was terrible, and again, it's been a number of years, so it's possible they changed this procedure, but at the time, I couldn't understand why certain, kids would wind up in court with a warrant and others, didn't. And it was because the process at the time was that a letter would be sent to your home. And if you didn't get it or answer the letter, another letter would be sent. And after 3 letters, there was a warrant out for your arrest. So in my home, I'm privileged enough, and my kids are, that I'm getting the mail every day. And there's somebody home getting the mail every day. There are a lot of homes, if they even have, a secure mailbox, that let alone getting the mail every day. So these kids would wind up already at a disadvantage just because somebody didn't get the mail. So there were all kinds of examples like that I saw. I also fought hate crimes when I was in the state attorney's office, and learned, how important it is that when law enforcement makes the arrest, that they check the box, that it is a hate crime, because it elevates it here in Florida. And it's really important that we do that. So after my time in 2013, I really switched gears. So it was my toolbox for many years was the law. And then I was tapped to run an organization called the Anti-Defamation League, otherwise known as the ADL. And the ADL is a civil rights organization. It's over 100 years old, and it has a focus on anti-Semitism, but we did work on all kinds of isms and standing up in the community. So for me, this was a really big change, but it increased, to go back to your question, my skill set tremendously, because in addition to having the law in my toolbox, it was education, it was incident handling, it was crisis management, working in the community. We worked with schools. I worked with law enforcement. I actually brought a program to the state of Florida that wasn't here before called Law Enforcement and Society. The ADL was doing this program in DC. And it's a training program with law enforcement where you use the Holocaust as a backdrop and you look at the law enforcement profession through the lens of the Holocaust, and then you bring it through the civil rights movement here in the US, and you bring it to today, and you talk about stereotyping and bigotry and prejudice and the role of law enforcement in serving, no matter who it is, no matter what's going on in the White House, right, and in the executive. So we trained 1,000 officers at the time in Tampa. That's where we started the program when I brought it here. And what's interesting that I just remembered when I was telling this story the other day, that the police, the chief in Tampa at the time was a woman. And I wonder if that's just interesting that she was the one who was really interested in partnering and getting this program off the ground in the state of Florida. So I did that work for a while. And then ever since ADL, I've been working with purpose-driven organizations to help move the needle. So, using this vast toolbox and making change, one person, one community, one school, one incident at a time is the background that I have. And I don't have the patience anymore, for these issues at the federal level to not move forward in a more comprehensive and a quicker way. I am so disappointed, and I'm sort of masking my anger and emotions here, but I feel like I can't rely on anybody else anymore. I've been writing op-eds for years. You can look up my record, just by looking up my name and find things I've been writing for over a decade. And that was long before I had designs on running for office. So it's who I am. It's what I do. It's not made up because today I'm running for office. But I bring a skill set that nobody else in this race brings. And, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to be a disruptor, in a positive way, but in a way that takes us, forward in ways we should have moved years and years ago.
Yeah, it's absolutely necessary because I hear you and I have that same frustration that you're talking about, because really when you think about the things that are happening now, it's like we're not making any progress. It's just all you see is regress. Like every day it's just something else, and it's like, wait, we're absolutely moving in the wrong direction. And one of the things that you said that really struck me was like how we keep recycling politicians, right? Mm-hmm. So folks that they're a rep until they're termed out, then they become a state senator until they're termed out, and then they go here until they're termed out, and then and they really just become good at being politicians. And I'm not saying because a person has served in all these different roles that they cannot truly represent the will of the people, but that gets hard because you get caught up in the politics game. Just, I've been doing some things for the last couple of years with different folks, and even the way I thought about stuff as just a regular person that doesn't really understand politics is becoming different because I'm in the space, right? Because people are like, well, why are they talking about that? And then, the political answer is like, well, if you talk about that, then you're going to spend time, and waste resources on an issue that you don't want to, and it's a distraction and all of that. It's such a political answer to say something is a distraction, right? So if you have someone who has like 20, 30, 15 years of like politicking, not to say again, I don't want to say that none of them can't be, good folks representing the will of the people, but it becomes more and more difficult. Just like when an employee becomes a boss, right? Your interests are different when you're the boss and when you're the employee, and you see things a different way. So with all that being said, I was actually, and I see all the justice issues that you're talking about, they're extremely important, right? And there are a lot of them that are being talked about. But the one that everybody seems to be afraid to talk about, and that I'm going to ask a question on just because I'm in that space and
I'm getting ready. Okay.
And I just got off a call. I was just on a call where they were talking about that. It's like immigration, right? So first of all, dealing with DACA, right? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm about to put you on the spot because it's in my head right now because I just got off a call with DACA and all the things that I'm sure you're familiar with it because you're an attorney and everything like that. But in this immigration space, the concerns on the GOP side is like, oh, we don't want any bad hombres to, become, citizens of the United States and all of these different things. But we do have undocumented folks that have been in the United States 20 years, 15 years, 10 years that have a record and have shown you that they're not a bad hombre or a bad, lady or anything like that. Is immigration one of the things that you would consider dealing with if you're elected to be the representative for District 23, particularly since we're in South Florida and immigration is a for real thing, right? So
yes. So yes, I would be dealing with immigration. That is another one of these issues that, what politician doesn't say comprehensive immigration reform, okay? We do need comprehensive immigration reform. It's not rocket science. We get in our own way. Politicians get in their own ways because they're taking a stance where they would rather be right than smart, right? When someone would rather be right than smart, it's their ego. They're deciding, this is the way my party thinks, so I am not going to get involved in this issue. There was a time in this country where everyone could come in, right? And we wanted people to live here because we didn't have enough people living here. Then, there was a time where we had to start, okay, somebody might be coming in with an illness and we need to make sure that we're not going to spread the illness. So our immigration policy as a country has changed over time, as it should based on what's going on. In this country, people who have been here should be able to be here because that's on us for having failed at dealing with a comprehensive immigration reform, decade after decade. We can go forward and do much better. I mean, the travesty, and I'm just picturing it now, I'm a super visual person, of the 40 plus individuals who died in that truck at the border. That is a symptom of a failure in immigration reform, in comprehensive immigration reform. That's
absolutely, particularly when you're talking about like families from Mexico, they're waiting, even if they have a relative here that apply for them, their wait time is like 10, 15, 20 years to come, So, and some of that is because, the system here isn't processing those applications fast enough. Right? Yes, a big country, it's a whole lot of people. I get that. But at the same time, a person really got to wait 15 years. By that time, the kids are grown, they done moved on with their life. All kinds of things can happen. And some people, really, I can't say they can't wait. They shouldn't wait. But that I agree that that's something that on this end we can do better so people can come in lawfully because they do have the relatives that can petition for them. It's just that the process takes a very long time.
Right. Like what is going on and to me, this would be another area to get in the weeds on it. But you're talking about operations. This is why I said it's not rocket science. Like unless we are getting in our own way, because we have the resources, we have the ideas, we have the capability to get it done, and we're not getting it done. And we're not getting it done because people in politics are taking principled stances instead of smart stances. People are saying, I would rather be right at all costs. It's like narcissism, than be smart.
But I don't even know how they're right though. Like, so what does right look like to them, right? So that's I guess that's a different philosophical conversation maybe for another day. But even that whole idea of being right, like, what do you mean if you're being right? Because if your concern is the person, immigrants are a security risk, if you have like millions and millions of immigrants that have been here for 20 years and have done nothing, then your whole security risk conversation seems to fail to me. Right?
Yeah. Well, what I mean, it's not even that deep. So we can even have it very quickly, this conversation. To me, the being right, for example, would be the Republican talking point that everyone coming in, like you started this conversation, is a bad hombre, which is not true. And which is a horrible thing to say, and is not a real starting point. It's made up to create fear. And that's the right that I'm talking about. There's a talking point. There's something that they run on and they feel like, they don't feel.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that the Republicans are the ones who are so anti-immigrant right now, because I'm an immigrant. My parents are immigrants, and I actually got my lawful status in the United States based on something that Ronald Reagan did, right, which was like a Republican president. So to see the shift is absolutely incredible to me too, right? So who decided to make this a bad thing? Somebody, and here it is. But there's enough history to show that Republicans have done stuff for immigration. The last time something comprehensive was done was when Bill Clinton was leaving office in 2000, and there's been nothing serious that has given people a pass to citizenship since then. So I think it's long overdue. And thank you that you were willing to even tackle that issue and get that conversation going. All right.
Of course, yeah.
Nikki, your question.
Important. All right. So my question comes with your third tier economic equity. And you mentioned that small businesses, women businesses, and what does economic equity look like if you are elected to be the representative for District 23?
Right. So the starting point, it's like the less money you have, and if you aren't white, for example, and you aren't a man, for example, and these are like in different layers, the more difficult it is to do every piece of the process to be able to do whatever it is you want to do that has an economic focus, whether it be, let's say you want to start a business, getting a loan, being able to rent the space to create that, to start that business in, being able to get backers to build your board. And so the people that are already up here, have a privileged beginning, or a much easier way of starting that new business or that new venture. So we need to have, programs that really target advancement for communities that traditionally don't have the ability to have that higher level starting point. So that's looking at how we are spending our budget at the federal level, what kind of programs we're giving incentives for, who we are giving promotions and startup money and seed money, and in what industries and in what parts of the country and in what cities, and who are we helping? Are we helping the people that already have and don't need help because they have terrific lobbies and people who can advocate for what they already have continuing, or are we really taking a look at this incredible human capital in these other communities, and we want to be able to broaden, the diversity in this economy. So, that's a big piece of it. And then of course there's just the kitchen table economics of how we afford to raise our families, how we afford to not work multiple jobs, and to have a life, and to even be able to be home with those kids that we have and that we raise as women. So, there's a lot of elements of it, but the American dream idea, which I hope is an idea that we can still have and that many people still want for. It should be something that is attainable by everyone in this country and not just some people in this country. And when we govern, that is the point of it. Like, it is for the people. When you're in Congress, you have two offices, right? You get a lot of staff, and you have two offices. You have a home office in your district, and you have your DC office. And the home office is supposed to be a constituent service office. And, in its raw form, what that means is doing things to help your constituents in your community. And you have the resources to do it. So whether it be, something like, we're having a ribbon cutting ceremony and we want to involve, your office in it, or I'm going out of the country and I need help getting a passport expedited, or something very serious like my son was on the transplant list and fell off the list and I don't know how to get him back on, and can you help me? You're supposed to be responsive and there to serve the people in your district. That's the point. And then in DC, it is, spending taxpayer money. And what are we spending it on? It should be smart programs that help people, that move the needle on the issues we've already talked about. And we are creating legislation, which is supposed to protect and elevate, protect and elevate. And, you know, I made this list yesterday for a talk that I gave at the Coconut Creek Dem Club.
So one of my colleagues, Maria, said that was the first time she heard of you at Winmore. So she's like, she was there, she heard of you, she was excited about, you know, what it is that you said. So we need you to keep showing your face and showing up so more people will know that you're here. But yeah, Maria said she saw you there.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, I don't know, you know, how much time we have, but in a nutshell, I made like this laundry list, and I was thinking, first I started with just the state of Florida and what's going on that's regressive. You know, but the math book censorship, the theater censorship, this criminalizing adults who bring children to drag shows, like, I'd have been in jail 10 times over, I think, by then.
You understand?
The survey suspension, you know, the Don't Say Gay law, you know, the name calling of opponents of the law as groomers and pedophiles, the redistricting maps, which further marginalize the Black community, the anti-woke bill. I don't know if I need to go on and on, but it's like a very long list. And at the federal level, you know, it's aggressive tactics being used to avoid the rule of law by our executive and our legislators. It's legislator and executive support for the Capitol riots, legislative and executive support for undermining our elections, you know, the ever slow progress on everything we just talked about, climate change, immigration, and the point is, you know, I used to laugh when people would send me memes about our governor, for example. I can't even laugh anymore.
It's not
like
funny.
Right. I can. That's why your music I so appreciated at the beginning, because these things are really serious. And I did an interview with a fabulous woman who has a show the other day called The Faye What Show. Have you met Faye? Anyway, you have to meet each other. She's fabulous. She's also in this community, and she has a great show. But she was saying, you know, she's a lesbian Latina woman, and she's really concerned about safety, and members of her community are very concerned about safety. And you know, this list of one law after the next that just harms people and demeans our dignity, you know, I recall a list like that, you know, that was made targeting my community and my ancestors in Germany. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, having run the ABL statewide in Florida, I more often would say, you know, if somebody made a Holocaust analogy, that was over the top and not appropriate and, you know, demean the Holocaust. But to me, when I look at that laundry list, a lot of people think of the Holocaust as just World War II, but it was actually a 10-year period that led up to what we know as World War II. And it started with, you know, stereotyping and name calling, right? And what became prejudice and discrimination and bigotry, and eventually, you know, became violence and genocide. And you know, I'm just saying that's, you know, we're not there, we're here, but we need to believe people when they say something, right? When they tell us what they think, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, the governor's just doing that because he's running for office. And that is so incongruous to me. Like that's not something you do because you're running for office. You believe him, that he believes that because he is doing it. It's not, you know, we need to take that at face value, and that's why we need to get out and vote.
And it's important to pay attention to the fact that he has enough support that he think that doing that is okay. Right? Because it's one thing for you to do something and to run for office, but if you realize that it's extremely unpopular, you're gonna backtrack, right? But you keep doubling down and digging in because it's like, oh, actually, people are actually about this life. So those, you know, so the people who aren't have to be really concerned that this is the direction that they want to take this this country into, right? So I have to ask, and I feel like I was like, oh, I'm probably just getting her all kind of trouble, and I feel sorry for her, but I have to ask this question too because you know, since the Supreme Court is the one that's kind of part of the ones who's setting the stage for all of this foolishness to happen, and there's a couple ways to deal with them, right? One is to try to impeach them for telling lies when they were getting confirmed, right? Because apparently, you know, at least 3 of them were lying when they got confirmed.
Well, was
they
lying for no reason
because it was settled law. But somehow they found a way to mess with it, right? That way. Or the other way is to like expand the court, right? That's one of the things that are being thrown out there.
I say expand.
You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but is that something you would consider? Because it seems to me like the country's in a very like scary space, right? Yes. And there needs to be a halt to it, right? Yeah. So if either one of those things came up, or since you're like a change maker, you could probably think of a third way or some other way to address this, right? Tell us what that is, or are those things that you would support?
Well, it's a really important question. My primary way that I think about right now is that there's a lack. We're supposed to have checks and balances, right? This is like civics 101. We have 3 branches of government. Yes. There has not been, judicial oversight, for example. There are not enough rules. For a very long time, we let the members of the Supreme Court self-govern, right? Yeah. And there's a prestige and an expectation that goes with that somebody is going to be elevated enough that they can self-govern, that they know when they need to step out and recuse themselves, for example, from a case, or they know when they're crossing the line, or they know that their job, is the rule of law and stare decisis, by the way, which is what just happened, is that went out the window with the overturning of Roe, and that you have, as you mentioned, 3 justices who essentially lied on their job applications. Like, there's no other business you can be in and lie on your job application, and you're like, yeah, you
keep your job. Not even worry about losing it, right? Like, it's one thing to be like, you get to keep it. Other one's like, I ain't even worried about losing my job. I'm just gonna do this. You're like, what? Okay, so yeah.
So I think we need reform around our justices, because we're seeing it not just at the federal U.S. Supreme Court level, but even how much the state of Florida Supreme Court has changed over the years. There's like forum shopping where people are bringing cases to Florida because they know that our judges are so right and so partisan, some of them, that they're gonna, help create new case law, because they're gonna support whatever that, case is. So it is a tremendous problem, because, we for so long have expected and seen differently from our judges, and it's not happening anymore.
So your answer is considering parameters for the Supreme Court.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wouldn't just say expand at all, because we'll still be in the same problem. We'll just have more of them. Right? Like, we have to have the rules around judicial ethics and judicial requirements and behavior and
that's something Congress and the Senate can do.
Yeah.
So that's why it's even more important to make sure Democrats get elected, right? At least I'm going to say that part, right? To get Democrats elected, not only for them to maintain the House, because I think there's a fear that there's a possibility that they may not maintain the House, depending on how many folks, because there's some seats that are being challenged and that type of thing. So they need to maintain the House, but also what's absolutely important too is the Senate, right? Like, they need to pick up a couple seats in the Senate, so the House does what they're supposed to do, and then it goes to the Senate and just kind of sit there, and there's absolutely no movement on that, because some of these things need to be codified.
Yeah,
absolutely. And just so locally, turnout is very low so far, very low. Yes. With the early voting just started, but even absentee is very low. A lot more people have their ballots.
I think the mail-in ballots have been only about 40-something thousand.
That's what I heard too.
Out of the 300,000 that were sent out. So that is extremely low. And those who are hearing the sound of our voices, if you haven't sent in your mail-in ballot, please do it today. Like, just, let's get it together. Let's, early voting starts, as co-host said, on the 13th. We're hoping that everybody goes out and really, I'm telling you, your vote is your superpower. There's a bunch of people on the ballot that do not deserve to keep their jobs. They have to go and go quickly. And so we are in charge of that they work for us. And if for not anything, at least mail out your mail-in ballot. It's free. You ain't got to pay for the mail-in ballot. You can send it out on your own. It's pre-post. There's a pre-postage on there. Drop it in the mail. Make sure you follow the directions. But we really, really advocate that you vote early and vote like your life depends on it, because it literally does. It literally does.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All of that.
All of that. So important.
Yes, no, and I love the way when you started your conversation, you're the justice candidate, because that's really like what we need, right? Because all of the things that all of the issues that are issues, you're like, they should really not be an issue, right? Like women's right, like why are women fighting for this? And for people to continue to deal with climate change deniers and all of that kind of stuff, I'm just like, I just don't understand it. And you really, and I think we do need more women in this space too, because clearly these men don't understand what they're doing when they make decisions about some of these abortion laws that are passing throughout the United States. Just don't make no sense. Now they're dealing with contraception. Apparently they don't understand what ectopic pregnancies are like, and it's just all of this stuff. And I'm just like, it's probably because these guys don't get it. And there's a quote that one of the senators said that, now, if you allow these Democrats to come in, women are going to be pregnant for 52 weeks, right? And I'm like, that got to be a whole joke, right? Because they don't even know how long a woman's pregnant for, and then you're making some decisions about pregnant women.
Right.
I'm like, really? You really said 52 weeks is what they said.
Well, I'm so happy you brought that up, and I can't believe I didn't even say it yet, but we're talking about voting. You know what, women, vote for women, vote for pro-choice Democratic women, and not because necessarily we only need to vote by gender, although men have been doing it for a very long time, and that's why they are about 75% of Congress. But our voices will not be heard until we get to these spaces, and it shows in the law, it shows in this regression, it still shows in equal pay, it still shows in so many ways. So just do it, take a chance. Don't do the same thing over and over again. You're going to get the same result.
And listen, I feel like women especially, including white women, y'all come out and vote. We come out and vote, right? And so white women, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, y'all need to come out in droves.
But they can't. You see what they did in Kansas, of all places, right? So listen,
y'all need to come out in droves, because I'm telling you, the men, the same men that you put in back in 2018 and 2020, basically told you, we don't care, we're gonna do whatever we want anyways, okay?
And if they don't care, then they don't understand either. So it's either they don't care or they don't understand. It's all a problem. It's all
at the end of the day, it affects you, right? And so what you all need to do is huddle up and make a decision that y'all gonna go in caravans and vote like your lives depend on it, because it does. Pregnancy, ectopic pregnancy, rape, all of that comes down to us. This is our life. You can't have a man making a decision on your reproductive health.
And they don't understand it. They don't get it. I'm a person that was pregnant at 38 years old with twins. It wasn't easy. And that was it was not an easy thing. And so for a man to try to make a decision about what my body was going through just makes absolutely no sense to me. And there's something, and I'm not saying that you have to understand everything that you have to make a decision about, but you should at least be willing to listen. Even if you don't understand it, at least listen to the people who are being affected. So if women are telling you, listen, bro, or medical professor, listen, bro, ectopic pregnancies ain't no kind of abortion. They can't survive. It ain't all it's going to do is kill that lady if you don't do something about it. If they're not even willing to listen to that person has no business making laws or making decisions about half of the people in the United States, right? So give a woman a chance who knows it, understands it, experiences it, at least is willing to listen to what it is and listen to the medical professionals, the people who went to study this, and let them make decisions about the laws. But how we have legislators, some of who, maybe have an associate degree or didn't go to college at all, trying to tell medical degree.
No medical degree.
No medical degree whatsoever. Probably science in college, and they're making decisions about people's life
And
like
let me
that.
tell you something. We all are women, and we can understand the plight of a woman when it comes down to pregnancy and abortions. I had a pregnancy that had to end up in a DNC, and there's some states currently that you can't even. DNC is considered an abortion, and there are women. There's a story out right now. There's a woman who had the doctor said I had to wait till she showed signs of distress before I gave her a DNC, knowing that the pregnancy wasn't viable, knowing that there was no signs of life. And these are the dangerous legislation that some of these governors have put forth in these states by overturning Roe v. Wade and putting it back into the states' hands, where we're sitting at right now. So we have people like Hava, who's running for U.S. Congress, who understands the plight of a woman, right?
And she's an attorney, does civil rights stuff.
All of that, you really, it's really important that people have to know the candidates, right? We just can't keep going on with the same regimes, can't keep going on with the same group, the little cliques that be passing on. Okay, well, I'm not running no more, but you're gonna go ahead and take my seat. It's not your seat to give away. It's the people's seat. We have to make a decision. So there are choices in the U.S. 23 district seat. You have choices. You don't have to go with the favorite or the person that has been been christened the person for the seat, because this seat doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the people. And so it's important that we have Hava on to talk to us, because, like Maria said, she didn't know who she was in the beginning until she had an opportunity to see her in at a club meeting or and learn more about her. So we're going to share this
again, learning even more. So
we're going to be sharing this video. We want everybody to hear what you've been doing. I mean, running the ADL statewide is important for people to know what this is. I mean, this is important. And know that there's qualified people, women, who understand the plight of a woman. Because I have to tell you, this abortion thing has been such an issue. I mean, I know you heard about the young lady, the child who had to cross 2 state lines to go get an abortion because she was raped by someone. I mean, it boggles my mind that the government thinks that they can make decisions on women's reproductive health, but then yet you can't tell a man that he has to get a vasectomy till he decides that he wants to have a child. Like, how to make that make sense?
So Hava, we're sorry that we kind of took over your interview.
No, I'm happy, and I'm happy to hear from you. So
no, the people came to hear from you, but like I said, I mean, when you started off saying that you're the justice candidate, I'm like, listen, this is exactly what is needed, because there's too much injustice happening. So let's wrap it up. Tell us, give the folks a reason why they should vote for you, why you're the best candidate, and how to get in touch with you, how they can help you, volunteer, whatever. Just give those closing remarks and tell folks how to get involved in what it is that you want to do.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for having me. It was terrific to meet you and someone in my district in Parkland, which is amazing. Can you imagine what we could accomplish, by the way, if justice was at the center of governing? Can you only imagine? So, there's a lot of people who I called. I mentioned at some point that one of the pieces of this process is dialing for dollars, because you need funds to get your name out there, and it's very difficult. And there are people who have been donating and contributing in part of this process for a very long time that are done. They're disillusioned, right? They feel like not enough change has been made. But we have incredible resources and incredible people, and we just need to find them and vote for them, and we can really do great things again in this country. And I believe that. So with all the doom and gloom that we're talking about, there is also possibility, right? And so I think my candidacy and I bring possibility. I have the skill set. These justice issues are my bailiwick. I've been doing it for 25 years. We need to build, some armor around equality, around women's rights, around, this balance of the Second Amendment, and then our freedoms to life, liberty, and happiness, which are being devalued at the expense of, the Second Amendment. So, this is the work I've been doing for 20 plus years. And it's who I've been through everything that I've done. And I'm not going to lose that when I run for office. That's also something, I think that's really different. I think people run for two reasons: either to be somebody, it's an ego-driven, right, or to do something. And then a lot of people who might start out as the former, they become the latter, right, or the opposite. They become the be instead of the do. They start with the latter. So, you know, we need people who do and have a record of doing, and are in it for the right reasons, and want to do the job justice of serving the people. So vote for Hava Holzhauer, US 23, as you both already mentioned. The time to vote is right now, and we have choices. This is not a kingdom. This is an open seat, and when we have choices as Democrats, we should look at them really closely, and we should, you know, make an important decision and not do, you know, the same things over and over again. So thank you so much for your time today. It was great to meet you both.
Yeah, and I think it's a bad thing, but it's also a good thing that people haven't sent their ballots in yet, because now they got a chance to know you, hear from you, and know that they have a very good alternative to the other folks that's in that seat. And you know, now they can go and vote for you. So y'all who still have your ballots in your house, go ahead and vote for Hava for Congressional District 23. Like she said, it's an open seat, and so get it going. It's like what they said, it's like 300,000 ballots outstanding. So hey, you got a chance for you to win now. Now y'all know about Hava. Tell your friends to tell their friends.
And please visit her on her website. We have put it up there. Go and donate. Listen, go get your Starbucks money. Eddie,
donate your $5. They add up.
Go give that. Yeah, give that up.
Importantly, she needs your vote.
She needs your vote, but please I think you still can receive donations, correct?
Oh yeah, yes, and we will use them wisely. Yes.
Okay, so she's still able to read some get donations, but we're mail-in ballots are out. Now you have another choice to come in and look. We've given you an opportunity to hear. If you haven't had an opportunity, please look over the video again. It was a pleasure.
Just know that she's a justice candidate. Okay, she's a justice candidate. She's going to deal with climate, women issues, discrimination issues, race issues, voting right. That's what we need. We're here about progress for real. I'm
pretty sure she needs some volunteers coming up when we have early voting. So whoever go on her website. I'm pretty sure she has sign-up sheets.
Yes.
To help, and because it's when it's early voting,
you're gonna give them a t-shirt.
So
give them a t-shirt.
Huh? Yes, definitely. We've got the t-shirts.
Okay. All right, get some t-shirts. She's gonna give you a t-shirt so you can go to these go and get voting. So hey, head over to her website, learn more. I'm pretty sure she's very receptive in terms of calls and emails. So I put her email address on there as well. And then get to know the candidate. That's what we all about.
Well, you got to know the candidate. She's a justice candidate. She's only female in a group of men. We done heard about them already. So it's time to really do something new.
This seat don't belong to nobody. It's open.
Right. It's open for the justice candidate.
That's what we're talking about. All right. Thank you, Hava, for coming.
Thank you so much.
Use a pen when you're filling out your paperwork. Don't use a pencil. Use a pen. Somebody's mentioned that here.
And they said, please don't forget to sign. You have to sign.
Forget to sign it, because they will throw it out if it's not signed. Make sure you sign it and vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
Are you on social media, Hava?
Yes. I'm on Facebook and I'm Twitter. It's the same as sort of what you put on there. It's the my congressional page is also my name, Hava Holzhauer, on Facebook.
Okay.
All
right. Facebook and Twitter. Go to our website. Donate, vote. Yes. Donate. Make sure you vote. Tell your friends to vote. All your relatives, make them all vote. Donate. She needs your sweat equity, so she needs your time.
That's right.
And you're gonna get a t-shirt and some water because it's hot outside.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It was great to have you, and we wish you nothing but luck.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye. All right.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
This candidate, y'all better get on, honey. The women out here doing
They're doing it. Forget all this regress that's happening. It's time for some progress for real.
We had a whole list of regress, honey. She was like, this is that. This is someone who's paying attention. This is someone who understands what's going on.
She got a plan. I tried to set it up, and she was like, nah, that ain't what we got to do. We just got to do some oversight with those judges. We got to set up for real, but it's a real question because there's a lot of foolishness going on.
It is a real question.
On the spot, she thought of an alternative on how to address that situation, and that's what you need. You need thinkers.
Yeah, and that's
makers.
why I rephrased it. I said, consider parameters for the Supreme Court, and I said, is that something the House and the Senate can do? And she says, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we just need to get on the ball, really and truly, because her being the justice candidate means a lot, because she recognizes there is no checks and balances.
There's injustice happening. There's some food.
There's no checks and balances
going on.
None. There's no checks and balances from the state level and the federal level. And
it should be. So it's not that the system doesn't have them built in. They do. Right. But they got a whole bunch of folks taking up space and not following the rules that they swore to uphold and abide by, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, you need to put people in there that's going to do what they said they were going to do when they got that job.
It is what it is. Listen, like I said, your vote is, they work for us. They're not doing their jobs. Guess what?
They don't get to keep.
They don't get to keep it. They don't get to keep it. And all you have to do is just vote to make sure that they do right by us.
Since there's so many of y'all that haven't voted in Broward County yet. Here's your opportunity. Now you know what's up with this candidate. Go ahead, use that vote. Tell your friends to tell their friends, and go ahead and vote for Hava Holzhauer for Congressional District 23, the only female in a group of men.
All right. So tomorrow we'll have tomorrow we'll have the only female running for Commissioner of Agriculture.
On both sides of the aisle, actually.
Both sides of the aisle, actually.
Yeah.
Naomi Blemire, and we're excited to talk to her.
And we'll be doing that at 4:30.
At 4:30 tomorrow. So join us if you can. We look forward to kind of, talking to her, getting the background, getting what her thoughts are and what her ideas are. The Commissioner of Agriculture deals with a lot of things.
And consumer protection. So it's Commission of Agriculture and Consumer Protection.
Yeah. Keep forgetting that consumer.
Yeah, a lot of us do, but yes, consumer protection. So there's a consumer.
We're all consumers, honey. We all spending money,
and we need protection.
Yeah, you want to make sure whoever's at the helm
protect us.
Protect us from
and not big business, because they could do that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're excited to get her on. And we'll see you all
mañana.
All right. Mm-hmm.